reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. Hello everyone, day 2 here at PAX, and once again we keep finding ourselves at the Wildstar booth. This seems to be a wonderful problem that we're having here at PAX. Now I'm here, I've got a wonderful interview set up, so can you let everybody know your name and what your position is with Wildstar?
My name is Cory Herndon. I'm the senior narrative designer on Wildstar, so I'm essentially one of the lore guys.
That's a pretty fantastic thing to do, because one of the things that's because one of the things that's coming out really, really clearly in all the stuff that we see, whether it's the dev speak videos or the other trailers that you put out, is the story of Wildstar and the world that you are creating. It's really a unique world with the blend of humor and the sci-fi and all that sort of stuff. What sort of, how did this whole world come about? Were you part of the team right from the very beginning? Did you come on part of the way through?
I've been there for a while. I actually recently celebrated my 5-year anniversary at Carbine. And when I got there, the IP was already on its way to being developed. But then over the course of 5 years, we just continued to build on it and develop it, flesh it out. You can see the art style. The art was already there, and the art really is. I love our art, and it really informs how the game feels. You were talking about the sense of humor. We don't necessarily take ourselves too seriously, but it's not all a joke either. I'm a huge fan of our artwork, and it kind of developed from there. We had to, kind of create the world, the planet Nexus, why the two factions were there, what specifically they were fighting over, what their backstory was, and I got to be involved in all of that. It was really great, and it continues to be great actually, because the story is ongoing.
So do you have any specific parts of the story that are your responsibility, or do you have your fingers in every little bit?
Well, there's a little bit of fingers in. Everybody at Carbine is a gamer, and so we're all playing the game all the time. And if somebody in the art team notices a typo, they send it that. And if we notice an art problem, we send it out. But I specifically, I work for Chad Moore, who's our lead narrative designer, who's kind of the master of everything lore related. My specific responsibility right now, after we've done all of the lore documents and IP development, is writing journals and archives and what we call Tales from Beyond the Fringe. Tales from Beyond the Fringe is like an in-universe pulp magazine kind of. And so you can collect these in the game, and once you unlock them, collect all the pieces of it, you'll get like a little piece of flash fiction that like people in the game world would be reading. Journals are like found documents. It might be an actual like diary or journal. It might be a menu at a restaurant. It might be listings for an entertainment program. It might be a frightening epic poem by one of our evil villains. And I also am responsible for the Galactic Archives, which is kind of our codex, our Wikipedia of the universe. It's unlocked passively in that you by completing quests, by killing enemies, you'll unlock these encyclopedia entries. And if you're playing one of our the scientist path, you'll get tons of extra lore. So I'm also responsible for that. And right now, that's my main focus. I suspect eventually it'll be moving into more of a polished and editorial type role. But because we're just going to continue to just push out content after ship, that process will also be ongoing. I'm going to be doing journals and archives, hopefully as long as possible.
Now, without giving away spoilers, because I know I want to find out stuff when the game launches and through my gameplay, but should I be looking for little Easter eggs in all the stuff that you said in-game? Are you planting little bits in there that people are, oh?
Absolutely we are. Sometimes the journals are almost entirely flavor that help flesh out the world. Sometimes they're a little lighthearted, sometimes they're more serious, and sometimes they contain actual clues about how to complete quests, how to proceed in this particular zone. So it's kind of a mix. I'd say, I don't know, it's probably about 50-50. But I want to make sure that they're fun. Like we have a philosophy on the lore team that if you don't want to read stuff, we're not going to force you to read anything. If there is text that you have to look at, like whether it's quest dialogue or gossip text, it's going to be about the length of a tweet. Because we feel that that's about how long that you can't help but read it. If it pops up on the screen, if you can read words, you've pretty much read that tweet. However, we have a lot of optional text that, wow, that's loud. We have optional text if the player opts in, we'll give you much more information because, you know, we love lore, obviously. We love to help flesh out the world. We're all, especially on the lore team, we're all writers. And so if you're looking for it, it will all be there for you. But we're not going to, if you're not into reading, hey, we're not going to make you. We want you to play the game how you want to play it. And that,
can we expect some storylines that we only discover by looking at the flavor text?
Oh, certainly. Well, especially if you're looking for like background, history, that kind of thing. A lot of stuff will probably only be revealed that way. And sometimes they'll just be like kind of isolated stories that are specific to that journal that, you know, we think are just kind of fun. We have, like, for instance, we have these creatures called cubigs, which are essentially pigs that have been cloned to be perfectly cubical so that they, you know, you can get as much bacon out of them as possible, essentially. And we have one that inadvertently developed sentience in the cloning process. So I wrote a journal for him about how he's like discovering every life and everything. And so his story is entirely contained inside this journal. But I actually had almost forgotten I wrote it, but somebody brought it up to me yesterday, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's one of the most fun things I did. But there'll also be stuff that's not isolated like that. There'll be stuff that's fleshing out the world. We also, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's all text. We have a lot of really great visual storytelling. I talked about the art earlier, but we also, our content designers are really, really good at just placing things within the world that tells a visual story without having to read anything. And because, like I said, you know, if you don't want to read, we're not going to make you, but we're going to still make sure you understand more or less what's happening. Oh wow. Oh, I'm sorry. I just I believe that's a Champacabra. Wow. I love. Oh man, our fans are so awesome. They make like plush. You can't tell, but I'm looking at a plush version of one of our alien creatures that somebody just walked into the booth with. Yeah, our fans are great, and I can't wait to show them the game.
Yeah. It's pretty exciting too. Now, how much of the game are we going to get through text, and how much is going to be through voiceovers of quest text and all that? Okay.
We have a pretty robust voiceover system, but we don't do full voice. We don't. I mean, every single line of text in the game is not voiced. We have what we call general VO, which has a ton of variety. Like I know some games you go in, you talk to a merchant, they always say exactly the same thing, and I kind of get tired of that, you know. And so, you know, our merchants will have like 100 different lines to choose from that you might hear at any one time. And we've got some really, really talented voice actors in the game. Troy Baker is playing one of our iconic characters. We have a guy named Bill Salyers who is doing some wonderful work with the Chua, where these little psychotic hamster guys over here. Yeah, our voice actors are really talented. I'm lucky enough to be able to participate in some of this too. I'm doing the voice of a character named Phineas T. Rotostar, and who actually runs a corporation staffed entirely of clones of himself, which means that I get to do all the VO for those guys. Yeah, so you'll never lack for like hopefully entertaining audio, but you also won't have to sit there while somebody talks through absolutely every line in the game. And so I would say, I mean, if you're looking for the story, for the background, you'll kind of get it like equally from both things, and of course from the visuals as well.
Now, with your characters, with the players, is there any flavor voice or voiceover combat, you know, shout-outs or anything like that the characters have, similar to what Guild Wars 2 does? Although that, you know, I know my little Asuran feels 6 feet tall, but I'm kind of tired of it. Are you going to have anything like that with maybe a little more variety, or are you not looking that way?
I would estimate basically each of the player races has 3 separate voices, which means we have 3 separate voice actors doing different versions of the voices. Each one of those probably does about 240 different lines, and we break them down. There's probably about 10 hellos. There's about 10 goodbyes. There's lines for when you accept the quest, for when you hand in the quest, and so you should not be hearing a lot of the same stuff over and over again. And we've done this even for races that aren't player races, like the third-party races. It's probably about half as many lines, but you'll still get a ton of variety on that.
We had a guest on the podcast.
That's okay. He's one of our fans. He's great. Yeah, I'm sorry. I lost track of where I was.
The flavor text for the characters, you were onto the third faction.
Right. And we aren't even done recording. We're going to, I think in a few weeks, we're going to go in for another massive recording session. Like there will be VO for even secondary characters. Like if we have an iconic character, they'll have a full suite of their own VO. And but then like if they have a sidekick, we're going to give like about half-size suite to that sidekick. because they'll also be quest givers and that kind of thing. And we want everybody to feel distinctive, you know, to feel like they're separate characters, not like it's just the same guy or the same voice over and over again, which, you know, I mean, I know there are economic reasons for doing it that way, but you know, that's not what we're about.
Now, before we end things off here, you know, we've got all the races announced. I know we don't have all the classes, but of what's been announced, what's your favorite combination to play when you get in game?
I love the Chua. They're so much fun to play. They're little. I keep calling them psychotic hamsters, but you know they're a little bigger than that.
It fits though.
The Chua are the technologists of the Dominion, which is one of our factions, and their VO is so much fun. The Chua are so hyperactive that they don't bother with articles or pronouns or anything like that. They have so much information to get out, and they got to get it out really fast. And so like right now we're letting people play a Chua Spellslinger. The Spellslinger is kind of my favorite class right now. It can be a ranged DPS class, it can be a healer class, and the Spellslinger is really good for taking advantage of our directional targeting system, which means that you can target a particular enemy and you can fire on that guy, but if you're firing while you're moving, you can also hit a few guys next to them. You'll have these telegraphs that show where your damage is going. And the Spellslingers are fantastic for that. If you don't just stand back and fire pot shots at people who never hurt you. You're in there, you're involved in it, you're backing out, you're dodging and ducking and diving and dipping and dodging. And it's very active combat at all times. And the Chua is one of the best personifications of that, I think. And they're also just funny. They're just really funny, and they're a hell of a lot of fun to write too. So yeah, I'd say right now that's probably what I'm favoring. I suspect Pappy, my boss, would probably say Exile, because he's a bit of a cowboy.
He made the right choice. Not that I'm biased in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not like I philosophically agree with the Dominion necessarily. I love funny little psycho hamsters. If I was gonna play an Exile, and I'm sure I'll probably play an Exile, I might go with the Mortish. They were one of our most recently revealed races. The Mortish are kind of a combination of Frankenstein's monster and Dr. Frankenstein in one body, so they have a lot of really morbid, dry humor, and they're also just cool looking. You know, they're really big. Like you'll notice when you get into the game that like the scale on the races is hugely, wildly varied. I mean, human is about middle. Well, like the Granok and Makari are like almost twice as big as humans. So the Chua are about half as tall as humans. So there's a ton of variety in that too, in the look of everything. But yeah, so that's a very long answer to a fairly short question.
Well, thanks so much for spending the time. Can't wait to get some more game time on Wildstar. It's been fantastic, and it's been great chatting with you here today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.